Hello, hello. This is the Theater and Dance at Wayne's vlog, the Audacity to Emote. Welcome. And we have our very first guest, Billicia Hines, the artistic co-director of the Black Theater and Dance Collective at Wayne State. Say hello to the people. Say hi.
Hi, how you doing? Good to see you all. Well, I'm not seeing you, but I can feel the people who will be here.
Yes. These coronavirus times are strange.
Yes, they are.
In fact,
Yes.
One of the reasons why we're doing this vlog is because of the sort of creative works that Theater and Dance at Wayne is putting on this year that are so unique and different and creative compared to anything that we've had to do before. And one of the projects that you're doing is Unveiling the Mask.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That's so. Tell me about the project.
Well, Unveiling the Mask, I was inspired from a poem by Lawrence Dunbar called "We Wear the Mask." It starts off with "We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes." I forgot the rest of it at this moment, but overall, it's talking about that as African Americans, we have to hide who we are to get through life, to be able to survive. And so it made me think about how we unveil, how we like have a mask throughout the day to survive everybody, especially marginalized communities. And I wanted to create a piece based off of that idea. This is coming from the idea within the Black Theater and Dance Collective. We created Dr. Ross Mikey and I this I Am project, and basically centering everyone's identity, young people's identity, with the idea of their identity within their race, their sexual orientation, their gender, their class, all these different areas of identity, their family and everything. And how can you be able to celebrate all of that and unveil that? And so, really delving deeper within that framework, I wanted to do this with the grad students, and then in addition with the freedom players this semester, and really talking about how do you unveil these different identities that you have. How do we get to see more of who you are? Because as an actor, it's all about unveiling this mask, and I find it so fascinating that as actors we talk about that we love to step into different characters, but we tend to hide who we are. So first, we need to unveil who we are and really be more empathetic with other people who they truly are first before we can step into someone else's life. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so in theater, I feel like oftentimes um, the identity of the act of the performers is not considered in the production of a play. Like I feel like we like the public perception is that it's two totally different things. And what I've realized by working um, in theater is that it actually has a huge impact on not
Hmm.
just the performance, but what is portrayed to the audience. You know what I mean? Like and how the actor feels. And it's just this all encompassing kind of experience that I never really thought about it from a performer's perspective. Um,
Yeah.
so that's really interesting. A question I have for you is kind of about you because you're a director. You're an actor. The purpose of this blog is to explore the origins of creativity and like I want to know more about you. What was the first time that you realized performance was you're going to be your career path?
Well, for one, as when I was born, my parents had this creative announcement, birth announcement for me that was like a program. And it said in the front, Hines Productions presents It's a girl, and bubbling brown sugar. That's who I was. And it said the producers are Billy and Patricia Hines. That's my parents' names. And so premiering at the address where we were living, this last production of the Hines event, because I'm the last child. So they premiered me like I was the star of a show. And I told them, you did that to me. You're the one who put me into this. So then when you say I'm being over dramatic, you did it. And so from the beginning, I was always into theater, into performing as long as I could remember. And I really
What-
didn't realize how much I was into social justice until honestly, maybe a few years ago, on like looking back in my life, how I always meshed social justice and theater together.
When you say a few years ago, I don't think so. When you say a few years ago, what does that mean?
Few years ago, I'd say 4 to 5 years ago.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, that's a few. Um, were your parents performers, or were they involved in the performing arts?
My mom, she's a retired reference librarian, and my dad, he is a retired choral conductor and vocal bass baritone singer. So yes,
So yeah,
I grew up on a college campus listening to my dad in rehearsals and listening to him direct the choir. So that's been my life.
I've what I've discovered is that a lot of people who pursue the performing arts as a career, a lot of them have a parent or parents that were in the performing arts. I feel like
Hmm.
that has been a very consistent thing, surprisingly consistent thing with all the people, with many of the people that I've met. I was not that. Like my dad is an engineer, my mom's a nurse, so but it's surprisingly common. Um, do you remember the very first production that you were in?
Mm, very first production I was in. Oh, well, I think growing up wasn't a real production, but like as long as I could remember on, Christmas, on holidays, I would always get my cousin and I, because she's like 9 months older than me, for us to create a performance for the family. And then we would like put our hat around and try to get money from them. And they would only give us like a few quarters or whatnot. But we were trying to make money. Well, I was trying to make money, do a little performance, and then give us some money for it. Um, and then going up into when I got into grade school or whatnot, I performed in a show in kindergarten, and then in elementary school, I forgot what grade, second grade or whatnot. We did the Emperor's New Clothes, and I was the queen, and then in multiple church plays that I was made to be in because my parents, we went to church on the regular. So I did those like little Christmas plays and whatnot. But not to down the Christmas plays, but I wasn't into those as much. But I was really into the ones at school because that was something fun and I could do more
Yeah.
of something that I wanted to do.
They used to, my grandma used to make me do those on Easter, every Easter, and
Yeah.
I would get complete and utter stage fright. I would be shaking.
Yeah.
Like I just had to read like, like a passage or whatever. And I'd be like, and the, so,
Yeah.
but I want so by the time that you were going into undergraduate, and you were coming out of high school, did you know for certain that you wanted to go into theater by that point?
You said after high school?
Yeah, as you
Oh,
were like
yeah.
graduating high school, going into college, was it like, or were you still thinking about taking a different path?
I always knew that I was going to be in entertainment in some type of way, in theater in some type of shape or form. And high school, I was participating at the local university in my hometown in their plays, and because I looked like a baby, that I did stage management. I did whatever I could to be around and to soak up the energy from that professor and from those college students. And so I always knew that I was really pretty serious about it, and to the point where, I mean, the high school stuff, it was high school, but I really wanted to be focused on getting out of where I was from. And then to the point where I got in my junior year into North Carolina School of the Arts, which now is called University of North Carolina at School of the Arts. And I was there for my senior year in high school, and that's in
Oh,
Winston
okay.
Salem. And so I was already at a conservatory there as a high school student, so I knew I wanted to be in theater.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. I see. So you kind of were born to do this. So I
But not the stereotypical way, I don't think. I think I assumed that I was going to be performing on a repertory theater or Broadway or doing some Hollywood, the things that everybody stereotypically knows. But spiritually, something else was meant for me more than just those things. I love using theater to really make a difference and for social justice. Now, within that framework, yes, I love to perform for performance sake, and I do that, but I'm looking at the broader scope of things on how I go about it.
is there a particular name for that sort of theater, the sort of theater that is for causing change or affecting, social causes or the social culture of a society? Like, is that what applied theater is, or is there some name for that vein of theater?
Within applied theater, they have social justice theater can be within applied theater, or it can just be in social justice. Some people don't even think of it as applied theater, but it is. Um, but so many things can be applied theater. Um,
Oh,
um,
okay.
but but specifically, I look at it as social justice theater. Now, within that, there's a lot of social justice plays that are on Broadway. It's like so happens. Oh, yeah, it's
Right.
talking about police brutality. So yes, but um, I want to go even a little deeper than that because it's not about selling a whole bunch of tickets for me. Even though I know you need some money,
It's like
but
a
it's about
necessity. Yeah.
yeah, but it's more about having impact in the community, using those shows to create impact. Yes, we can do entertainment for entertainment's sake, but still having some type of impact of connecting with some people, like young people, for instance, on creating change. And because even like with Freedom Players, that's the social justice ensemble in our department that I require them to do a social justice project. So on top of creating a piece, they have to like think about the social justice, the things in the community that they want to do. And even through this COVID, what can we do to make a difference? We shouldn't just, theater, doing the arts is a great thing. How do we use that to make a difference, even if we're using that theater to help another community get out of being depressed because they don't have anything to do? We could, connect with them by doing some theater classes. That's, for a group of people who couldn't afford it, that kind of thing.
It
Connecting
sounds
with,
like Yeah, it sounds like it's more than just the aesthetic experience of going to the
yeah,
theater and just
hmm yeah. Because it needs to be. After I'm long dead and gone, I want to make sure. I would love to. I hope it will happen that I would have done something for somebody else, so then they can feel like I need to do something for someone else, and it's always lifting other people up and having impact in our community. Because there's so many negative things going on that that's easy to do. It's easy not to do anything, but it takes a lot to do something. And actually, it doesn't take that much to do something. Some people just think it's too much, but just doing something and making a difference and connecting with our community, that makes a difference. And that means something to me. I don't want to leave this earth saying I did jack squat. I want to do something and uplift my community. I want the younger generation to be better off than I have been.
one thing I wanted to ask you about was what an experience it must be to produce a one woman or show or a one man show, because you've done and then like directed a few, right?
Yeah. hmm
What is that experience like? How does it differ than, like, being in a cast or ensemble or something?
Well, when you're performing in a one person show, it's, if you forget your lines, if you forget what you were supposed to do, it's you. So you better make it up or do something because you on your own. You don't have anybody to help you.
Right, right.
So, but I feel that through that process of creating a one person show, it's so uplifting because one, I could see that yes, I can write. I can write something, and because at first I didn't think of myself as a writer, but as a creative artist, I am, and using that to connect with people. Because one of the plays that I actually co-wrote with a good friend of mine back home is a play called Flying on Broken Wings, and it was about domestic violence. And I did this research with so many different women who experienced domestic violence. Then I did research on people who commit domestic violence, and on both sides that I started to understand more that on both sides people are the victim. Not to say that I feel sorry for the guy who beats up on a woman, but is something started for them to start to do that to someone, and so then
Right.
maybe they have been abused. And so I with all the information and all the people who I interviewed and did research, I created a one person show where I was the abuser and the abused, and then the
Mm,
mother and these people, and delving into these different characters, and did it at different universities and had talk bags. The police were there, a therapist, so then we could they could be able to see that and have these open discussions. And I found that to be a very uplifting experience. Not domestic violence, of course, is not uplifting, but the talk, and for people to see how it needs to stop, and to really be able to have it in their face, to be able to have that open discussion. Because it's kind of weird to just talk about domestic violence, but when you see it being played in front of you, then it can open up that discussion, and you can use the performer like myself as an example on how it has hurt the community. And so I love to use all those different issues that are going on within the world, within shows, to talk about what's going on. A play that I recently directed, um, Cameron Blackwell, and he's a recent graduate. He spoke about he did it. He wrote a one man show about himself and him as a black gay man in society, and the challenges that he has to go through, and dealing with all those dealing
right.
with the intersectionality within that. And so we explored that throughout the whole school year, and then COVID came up because it was going to be live. Then we decided, let's do it on video and make it into a short film. And that was a challenge because we were trying to edit it back and forth, but we knew it needed to be done, and having that conversation was a very powerful experience. And he now is going to expand that more and do more with it, and so I'm really proud of him. And so you have to be really specific. It's not to say you don't need to do that in in a larger show, but as the only performer, we need to really see the difference between this character, and this character. And
And
you really
everyone's focus is on you at all times.
yes,
So it's like
yes,
everything that you do has to have like intention, it would seem like because if
yep,
it doesn't, you're just being distracting and it's just
mm-hmm,
you. Um,
yes.
that's super fascinating. And do you remember when was the first time that you did a one woman show? Was that while you were in school, or was it after?
Well, after I graduated from undergrad, I think actually after I wrote a short piece about certain characters when I was in college, like different Black history figures I did before when I was an undergrad. During Black History Month, they needed some things in the community. And I was like, oh, I'll do Nikki Giovanni and, Sojourner Truth and, blah, 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 and do different pieces from them and mesh things together. And I did things like that in exploring those different characters, but really writing ones for myself, writing original pieces. I did that after grad school.
Gotcha, gotcha. And where did you go for undergrad and where did you go for grad school?
For undergrad, I went to North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, A&T, Aggie
Whoop, whoop.
Pride. And for grad school, I attended University of Missouri at Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, so North Carolina A&T is the historically black college, right?
Yes, it
Uh,
is.
and so and but then University of Missouri is PWI. I
Hmm.
would assume. So, what did each of those experiences add to you as a creative, being in those different environments? And I know after you worked at Elizabeth City, right?
Yeah, after that, I moved to New York, and then after New York, I moved back down to Elizabeth City, to work at Elizabeth City State University. Hmm.
Yeah. So that experience is attending an HBCU and working at HBCU and attending a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution. That's what it stands for anyone who doesn't know. Um, and HBCU stands for Historically Black College or University, also for
Hmm.
anyone who doesn't know. What did those experiences uh, add to you creatively in those different environments, and how did you grow through those different experiences? Or and were they that? I mean, that is kind of assuming that they were different.
Well, it's an excellent assumption, and you're totally right on that. Your assumption. I can say as going into A&T, I was coming from North Carolina School of the Arts, and I was a little broken. I'm not gonna lie, but still, like I love School of the Arts, but on the side a little broken because of the way within some conservatories like that, they hammer the point of if you're not doing this, then you're not good enough. And they have this idea and this look of what they want you to be, and it can
Mhm.
be pretty harsh. And what they wanted me to be was, I mean, of course, totally in this Eurocentric frame of how they saw me as an African American woman to be. And I did not totally fit that look, and they said certain things that were very really insulting. And back then, it's not like now, like the Me Too movement or Black Lives Matter and all those things. You just had to take the abuse of what people said to you because it just seemed like what always happened to you in your life, and just suck it up. And as a 17-year-old, that's what I knew. And so I enjoyed my experience. I would, if I had to do it all over again, I would still want to go because it was good training during that time of my life. But at the same time, it was some other parts that was missing that left me a little low. Going to A&T, being around a community of people who embraced who I am culturally, was what I really needed within the framework of the arts. And A&T, well, they still do have a BFA program, so it's a program that I wanted, very rigorous, excellent program, and still is. And but while at the same time embracing my blackness, embracing my community, embracing where I'm from. So I was able to do African American pieces or African pieces, anything of color, and they would actually know those playwrights and not look at me weird, or have, they have read it, and then they can encourage me on what to do. And I felt included.
Gotcha.
And that makes a difference because when I went to grad school, I didn't feel included. I felt like I was always trying to stand up for my people. I was always trying to stand up with any type of comment that I had or a different point of view. Someone had an issue, like even my other classmates. And that was during the time that Bush was in office. And so there was an issue, within that, there were certain Republicans, and I'm not downing Republicans. Well, never mind. I'm not going to go into that. But during that time, just conversations or anything that I said, anything culturally, um, some people felt that, I hated white people because I was talking about black things. And I'm like, no, that's because I'm proud of my blackness. I'm proud of my heritage. You're proud of yours. And people didn't really want to hear that. And so it was hard trying to still fight to be seen. During that time, there were no black shows performed at University of Missouri. And when
Wow.
I was there, I fought to have at least one black show before I graduated. Cause I'm like, a lot of these classical shows, and I love classical theater is great, but some of these characters and some of these shows I'm never going to be in. And so I need to, before leaving here, be in a show and step into a character in academia that I will actually be in when I graduate. And also, what is so wrong with doing black theater? It is these are wonderful characters, wonderful playwrights, and they should be deemed just as high as all these other playwrights. So I had to find, whereas all the other plays were picked by the professors, I had to come up with the play as if, they didn't sell black plays to white people. But I did it because I wanted to have a play before I graduated. I picked Crumbs from the Table of Joy by Lynn Nottage,
Mm,
and then I was of course cast in it, and that was my last show before leaving there. And from then on, they made sure they had a black show every year. So I feel proud
wow.
that I started that and spoke up. And that's why I'm always telling people, I'm telling the students, I'm telling everybody that if there are issues, speak up about them. And doesn't mean you have to be disrespectful. It's just you have to stand up for yourself, because if not, then you will end up missing opportunities. And sometimes people don't even know that they're beating you down. They sitting there, bam, bam, like, oh, I don't know, I don't know. And you got to let them, like, look, you beating me down. And if you don't, you're gonna continue getting beaten down.
Yeah,
So
that's what I think Zora Neale Hurston says. If you don't say anything about if you're silent while they're oh man, I'm gonna mess up the quote. Never mind. But it's something like
I
if
know
you're
the quote you're
silent,
talking about.
if you're silent while they're hurting you, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it or something to that
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you, and this might be putting you on the spot a little bit. Do you know how many productions you've directed? Like,
Ooh. Mm, I don't know. I've been, you mean like a main stage, like on a traditional stage,
mm,
of productions, or just
I
in
really meant
general?
period. I meant in general. How many times have you had the
Um,
experience of directing?
mm, well, it's been, I would say, a lot of them are not even on my resume because it's not, some of them were like things I initiated at like certain camps I created and then directed those pieces. So they're not necessarily on my resume of stuff, but I could say way over 50 things that I've
Wow.
directed, not counting the things I've performed in, because I've been doing it for so long, and then I end up directing one or two or three shows in a year. So
I know this
they
question.
just
This question is
accumulate.
like kind of asking you like, who's your favorite child? But do you have a favorite play that you directed that you're just like that stands out in your mind? It's like, wow, that was amazing.
um, I really enjoyed. I can while here, I can say that. Well, a lot of the plays I enjoyed for certain reasons. I don't want to say like I had a preference of cast or anything, but
Mhm.
uh, I enjoyed I enjoyed Colored Museum for certain reasons. For
Woo-woo.
one, I was able to work with you and work with Brian Cole and you all as sound designers, and y'all were excellent. And really, I love the collaboration with everybody. With those students who were here at the time, um, they were um, they were really excited about doing the show, and we had great discussions. And the scene designer, oh my god, Sarah Perline is just she's just phenomenal. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. She's just a phenomenal designer, and I love working with all my designers here. So I don't want to say one is better than the other, but I'm just saying with that show, she did a
You're
great
allowed to have a
design with
favorite.
that.
You're allowed to have a favorite.
um, but yeah, I mean, it was great working with her, and we were in so much dialogue and trying to figure out the look. And then I don't know how within the conversation we brought up the African American Museum in DC, and then it's like, oh, that's what it is. And then I so happen to have a book with the African American Museum in their images, and then we start vibing back and forth on stuff, and then it just came out. And so it's like you can I love the fact of how you can be so creative with Sarah, and that it's a conversation. Like she'll say some stuff to me, and I'll say, and then we end up creating it together. No, and when I say that, I don't mean like I built the set, because you don't want me to build a set because you're gonna fall off. But just the creative ideas that I love being around people who are creative. And I know that sounds funny, but it's true. And not just trying to get something done, but there's a meaning towards it. I always believe that there's a reason why I do certain plays every year. While there's this why it's that play versus another play. It's a reason why I'm doing Unveiling the Mask now versus some other year. There's a reason why I did I Am. There's a reason why I directed Venus by Susan Laurie Parks that year, because I feel
Mhm.
like there's always something in my life that has connected in it or in somebody else's life that I end up knowing, and it has made a difference somewhere. So I always feel that spiritually within the realm that whatever play that's decided, whatever that's decided, there's a bigger meaning that I'm not even aware of until it's over, or maybe sometimes a few years later, and which is fine with me.
Um, so if there was one thing that you one bit of wisdom that you could impart to inspiring artists and creatives, um, what would it be from your years of experience and thinking about people who are just beginning to pursue mm, um, artistry, whether it's directing or acting or what have you? Is there what would be your nugget of wisdom, your word of advice? I know again I'm putting you on the spot, but
No, I don't look at it as putting me on the spot. It's a good question. I know I was always passionate about theater, and I am passionate about social justice, even when I didn't know I was passionate about it. And I'd say do what you're passionate about, because anything that you're passionate about, you're going to work hard in doing, and you're going to strive to do better. And I know sometimes people look at like, okay, you're in the arts, you're not going to make a lot of money unless you are in some big Hollywood movie or something. But it's not about the money, it's about the message and me making a difference in the world. And in the end, my bills are being paid. And I'm going to continue having my bills being paid, and I'm going to be able to survive while doing something that makes me happy, and also while I can do something to make a difference. So whatever you do, do something that you are passionate about. And continue doing that, because that's only gonna, you need something to fill your soul and to fill your spirit. And even if it's not, some people think I'm only want to be an actor in theater. Well, try other things in the arts. If you really love the arts, then you'll try different things if that's not your calling, and try to find ways to stay in it. And it could be within another business. You can use theater. There's so many ways that you can use the arts than just the stereotypical ways. And how can you do what you love, what you're passionate about, and your creativities and talents to make a difference for somebody else? And that's what I'd
gotcha.
say.
Wow, wow. Yeah, that's I think that's fantastic. That's fantastic advice and words of wisdom. Um, we are going to, I think we're just about out of time, but thank you so much for
Thank
coming and
you.
talking with me and, sharing those experiences and that knowledge. I
Well,
think
thank you.
hopefully the people who listen, who hear this will be able to pick up on some of those nuggets of gold that you dropped and and use it in their careers or just in life.
Well, I hope so, or if anything, they would enjoy listening to us have a conversation. So
Just have a
either
conversation,
way,
you know?
yeah.
All right. Well, it's been real. Again, this is the Audacity to Emote podcast from Theater and Dance at Wayne, or excuse me, vlog from Theater and Dance at Wayne. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Bye bye.